All right. So we'll kick this thing off. If anyone else joins, that's fine. So this is going to be my sort of last opportunity to really quote unquote stick to the script with the oxygen advantage breath work technique. Next week, this is the fourth week. I'm going to mix it up a bit. I'm going to introduce some other things that I've experimented with. And we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for today, I'm going to show you some of the visuals that we have within the Oxygen Advantage instructor portal, they call it. But just some things that help bring more context to these light breathing techniques that we're going to work on. So short and sweet today, we're going to start with the BOLT score. All right, the BOLT measurement, and that stands for blood oxygen level test. Excuse the cat that's about to come into your screen in a moment here, but I'm going to share my screen, and this visual has been very helpful for me. So here's just a summary of the functional breathing, keeping it through the nose, bringing some attention to your breathing. All right. Taping the mouth at night and bringing light to the objective. Reaching a BOLT score of 40 seconds. This is where, like an elite level athlete, you should set this goal of 40 seconds, which is very aggressive and could take a long time, could take months, could take years. But more realistically, you want to be at 25 seconds for a BOLT score, just as a gauge. If you're not there right now, don't worry about it. I think the first time I took a BOLT score, I was at like 14 seconds. So don't beat yourself up about this. And the MBT, we're going to do this today as well. It's called the maximum breathlessness test. All right. It's much less scary than it sounds. Trust me. We're going to hit those today. So we're starting with this BOLT. All right. And again, here's this visual that I found very helpful. And you see your breathing as you approach the BOLT. You don't want to change your breathing, as you come into this BOLT score. This is the point of the BOLT, is to test what your normal breathing will permit. So, and then you also want to note at the end of this BOLT measurement, your breathing shouldn't be irregular. You want to return back to normal breathing. And that's sort of your gauge on keeping yourself in check, of doing it, quote unquote, the right way. If you hold your breath so long that at the end of the breath hold, you have irregular breathing, you pushed it a little too much. This is not a test to see how long you can hold your breath. This is a test to see how long it takes for your brain to really send that signal to your body to breathe. All right. So what I'll do, same thing I did last week. I'm just going to kind of put my stopwatch right up against the camera here. And as you approach this BOLT score, you're inhaling normal, silent, normal, exhaling, silent, and then you're going to pinch. And, you can all do this on your own. I'll start the timer now. And what you're doing is you're just waiting. You're trying to relax as long as possible. You're just waiting until some sort of contraction happens, until your body's like, breathe. All right. So I'll leave this up for the next maybe 45, 50 seconds. And I want each of you guys to take your BOLT score on your own. So your inhale, your exhale, and then your pinching. The first distinct desire to breathe. That's not really a mental thing as much as it's a physical thing. So there should be some sort of contraction. You might end up kind of flexing your neck muscle. There might be a contraction of your lower belly. All right, and this is our base measurement of where we're at, this BOLT score. All right, I'll cut this off there. If you're still going, that's great. But try to remember what you were at, and I'm going to hit that BOLT score at the end of this session as well. Okay, we're going to really run through some things here, and that'll allow us to see, hopefully you go up a couple seconds. All right, now we're going to hit this maximum breathlessness test. So very similarly, you are pinching after an exhale, but now you'll be taking steps. Okay, so for this test, you'll walk around. All right, so it might help right now just to pop up out of your chairs if you're sitting. Breathe normally for a couple breaths in your normal standing position. And obviously when you start walking, you don't have to stay on frame. And And what you're doing is you're counting the amount of steps that you can take. This one, you can push a little bit. Okay. You can push this a little bit. You might have a contraction in the middle of this breath hold. That's okay. As long as when you unpinch, there's the end of this test. When you unpinch and you stop walking with some number of steps in your head that you just took, you shouldn't have this crazy big breath, and it should be through the nose. Really important that it's through the nose. If you need to breathe through your mouth at the end of this, you pushed it a little too much. All right, so whenever you're ready, inhale, exhale, pinch, and just walk around. Count the amount of steps. And you want to remain calm, cool, collected, nice and easy. Let that CO2 build up. Get comfortable with it. For those that were here last week for week 2, at the end of your test, if you want to go right into some light breathing or minimal breathing to extend the effect of the CO2 buildup, that's in the cards. Good. Yeah, we can come all the way back to a seated position at the end of this. I'll show you this little diagram here. So this is not exact numbers, guys. It is, you know, it's backed by data of what's worked for people. So this is sort of connecting the bolt and the maximum breathlessness test and trying to give a little bit of context of what we're after here. So if we're at a bolt that's under 20 seconds or a maximum breathlessness test that's under 60 steps, we may have some over breathing habits, essentially. Okay, breathing more air than our body really requires. And so as we get better at these light breathing techniques, you know, as defined by the oxygen advantage, we want to really get past this threshold. Okay, and we can use either of these measurements as our daily thing. You could use both if you want to use both. But either of these measurements works. And this is a sort of something we want to strive for, is a bolt score of 25 seconds and a maximum breathlessness test of 60 steps. Okay. Without really preparing for these tests, if you're able to do a 25-second bolt or a 60-step MBT, your breathing should be in a good place, a functional place at that time. So you would have already been focusing on your light breathing for maybe days and weeks leading up to getting to this threshold. And as I mentioned, you know, for the athletes in this room that really want to push it, we're trying to get up here. We're trying to get to this 40 bolt and this 100 step count for the maximum breathlessness test. I'm not there by any means. I'm actually probably right below this line right here as of this current moment. So this is something it's a constant build. When I was really focused on this and doing a little bit more endurance training, I was right around here. I was at a 30 bolt and I was at 80 steps. So I've yet to get to this point, and this is on my to-do list, is to get up here. It's a challenge, you know. So now we're getting into this training. So we're going to come back to those tests after we do some of this training. So this is what they call, you know, getting ready for simulation of high altitude. For those that were with me last week when we really pushed it, you know, walk, jog, run. And then at the end of that breath hold, we did the minimal breathing. We're going to get some of those sets in today as well. We'll build up to it though. So last week when we did that training, that was what we would call simulation of high altitude training. And we really increased the CO2 in the blood. So this is a preparation for this. So no movement involved. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose, and pinch for maybe 4 or 5 seconds. Just a small little breath hold, just enough to feel that build up, and then unpinch and breathe normally for 10 seconds. Okay, so we're just going to work on this for the next 2 minutes. You guys can read the slide as it sort of describes what we're trying to do, and I'll try to just add that audio context and remembering that when we do our functional breathing, one breath in 10 seconds is what we're after. which means could be 5 in, 5 out, 4 in, 5 out with one pause. And if you want to keep it simple, just go 5 in, 5 out. And that's that 10-second break, you know? So your break in between these breath holds is one breath, one slow 5 in, 5 out breath. All right. By your second or third set of this, you start to get a little uncomfortable. And this is just preparing our body for this buildup of CO2. We can't train oxygen advantage without talking about the gas nitric oxide, you know, and that's what happens. You might feel like a little tingly in your nose, might feel like you might want to sneeze. That's the buildup of nitric oxide in the nasal cavity. Now, when you place your tongue to the roof of your mouth, you could actually drag your tongue from right behind your teeth all the way back, and you'll reach a point where it gets a little softer. That whole roof of your mouth, that's the bottom of your nasal cavity. You know, that's the floor. The top of your mouth is the floor of the nose. So there's a big section of space behind your nose and above your tongue, the nasal cavity, that, you know, it filters this air, and it also creates this nitric oxide effect that when we start to really use our nose, it builds nitric oxide. And then when you inhale that nitric oxide, it opens up, it dilates your airway. It increases the width of the airway, along with a host of many other benefits, you know, within the rest of the body. All right. So good. So now we're going to get it. Now we're prepped. We're primed. You know what I'm saying? It's 9:13 a.m. here. I got a Santa hat on, and what better gift than the gift of happiness and health and an open nasal airway. So we're going to get it here. So for those that were here last week, you remember this. For those that were not here last week, we got 3 speeds: walk, jog, and run. And we're going to do these speeds in a simple body weight squat form. We could do this by actually walking, jogging, and running, but we're just going to do body weight squats here. So the walking pace of your body weight squat is just nice and casual, easy. When we're doing that walk, nice and easy. When we hit that jog, just pick it up a bit. When we hit that run, now you're doing like speed squats. You could even do squat jumps if you want to go squat jumps for the sprint. So we're doing this whole thing on a breath hold. Inhale, exhale, and then we begin to walk. Okay. So familiarize yourself with your set position now. All right. This is your set position. We start here and we finish here. This is just relaxed, nice and easy, standing position. You want to minimize any extra movements. Control your body, control the breath, control the body. All right. And let's stay together for 2 breaths, and then we'll start this. So let's go finish your exhale. And we'll go in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pinch the nose and begin that walk. Nice and easy, nice and easy. Good. Pick it up to a jog. Good. Push that a little bit. You know, let that CO2 build up. Now hit that sprint. Hit that sprint. Push the sprint. Push the sprint. Push, 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 push. Whenever you need to breathe, stop and breathe. But make sure it's through the nose. Don't open the mouth. Keep it through the nose and calm yourself down. All right. Good first set. Good first set. All right. Remember, when you start to breathe at the end of the set, we want to do 6 minimal breaths. Okay. The purpose of this is to prolong the CO2 buildup. So at the end of the set, when you're hauling ass and all of a sudden, all right, I'm going to breathe, I'm going to unpinch, I'm going to stop squatting. You want, you know, your body wants to do a bunch of sort of hyperventilative type of breaths. You can inhale and then hold it, and then slowly exhale. And then all of a sudden, here comes another inhale because there's that CO2 buildup. Inhale, hold it, and try to slow down how fast you can hear me breathing. See if you can make it so you can't breathe by that. So you can't hear the breath by that second or third inhale. And then after 6 of those minimal breaths where you're taking in as little as possible, prolonging that CO2 buildup, then you return to functional breathing. So we should all be back to functional breathing right now. 4 seconds in, 5 seconds out, and a little pause before that next inhale. All right, give yourself 2 more breaths. We're going to hit a second set here. It's 9:17 a.m. All right. And we're getting after it. Appreciate you guys being here. It's Christmas Eve. Let's get our next set. Whenever you're ready, you finish that exhale and start the walking portion of your breath hold. Let's go for about 5 squats. After you hit that 5th squat, start your jog. And now it's about feeling. When you get really uncomfortable, pick up the pace. Yep. And when you need to breathe, breathe. This is about you keeping yourself in check here. It's not about pushing it as hard as we can. It's about pushing it within the context of controlling our breath, especially at the end. All right. And keep in mind, I am shrinking the rest time for you guys. Normally, if we have more time, we would have more time to rest in between these sets, which would allow your heart rate to lessen and give you a better feel of each of these progressions from walk to jog to run. But right now we're kind of pushing it. We're rushing a little bit. So just keep that in mind. Don't be hard on yourself. If when we hit this 3rd set, you're not able to hold your breath and do as much as you were on the 1st or 2nd set, because I've shrunk these rest times. All right. We're going to hit one more set after about 3 more breaths here. Take your time. So that's 30 seconds. These are these in-between moments. You build up that uncomfortability. See how quickly you can return to diaphragmatic breathing. Let the ribs be moving outward as you inhale and inward as you exhale. All right. The diaphragm should drop down into the belly when you inhale, and your ribs should expand at that same time. And then as you exhale, the ribs will contract and the diaphragm will return upward, slightly behind your rib cage. We're going to get this last set. Okay. On your own, get your last inhale, get your last exhale, and start that walk. Focus on good form, nice flat back, nice good posture. Don't have to worry about breathing because we ain't doing that. All right. When you feel uncomfortable, you pick it up to a jog. When you feel a little bit more uncomfortable, you pick it up to a speed, to a full speed. And then at the end, minimal breaths. Hold it if you need to. Little inhale, hold it. Exhale, hold it. Little inhale, hold it. Exhale, hold it. We're not doing functional breathing yet. We're prolonging that CO2 buildup in the blood by doing minimal breathing right now. You need to squeeze something. You need to wiggle something. Wiggle your toes. Wiggle something that no one can notice. That's control. All right. And now return to functional breathing. Nice and easy. 4 seconds in, 5 seconds out. All right. We're at 9:20 here. I'm not going to keep you more than about 100 more seconds here. So we're not going to hit another set of this. If you guys want to return to your seated position, like I said, I want to do one last test of Bolt. What's really important right now, since you guys' heart rate just jumped up, is that you really focus on light breathing right now to try to slow your heart rate back down. And we'll do the Bolt test in about 30 seconds, 30 or 40 seconds. So 3 or 4 more breaths to slow yourself down. And remember, the Bolt score is not the walking one. The Bolt score is the timing one. So I'll use my stopwatch again here. And I'll pull up the visual so you guys can just remember, At the end of that bolt, should be normal breathing. All right, so I'm going to start the stopwatch. Whenever you guys are ready, take your own bolt score and see if it's better than it was earlier. It's all about relaxation. As you feel that build up, relax into it. All right. Keep in mind, if your score did not go up, it's almost guaranteed because you're still not fully recovered from the sets that we just did. Okay. So what I would suggest is that after this meeting ends, if your score didn't go up after this meeting ends, when you truly do come back to a rested heart rate, when you just feel relaxed, do the bolt score again on your own with your own timer. And I guarantee you it should go up as long as you were kind of pushing it a little bit with these tests. We only did 3 sets of the high altitude training, which was the walk, jog, run. We really like to do 5 sets, because of time. Here we are at the end of this session. But if you want to push 2 more sets of that walk, jog, run, I promise you, you'll thank yourself later. So that's going to be it from my end, guys. Happy holidays. We're going to hit one more session next week, and like I said, I'm gonna mix in a little bit of a different vibe than like this, like sticking to the book of the Oxygen Advantage. It's going to be a little different next week. I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to push it from a cardiovascular standpoint and try to expand our lungs a little bit. This is more about not shrinking our lungs, but this is about shrinking the volume of air that we breathe. This is our functional breathing day to day. We want to breathe as little air as possible so that we become more efficient. All right. But then we also want to spend time, whether it's during our training sessions or meditation sessions, that we expand our lungs and we try to increase the volume of air that we're able to breathe, because lung expansion has actually been proven to be correlated to longevity of lifespan. So these are things, I've learned along the journey, but there's just, this isn't a rabbit hole. This is bigger than a rabbit hole, this whole breath work thing. And this is what I've found as the most important thing to start with, is this functional breathing at rest, which is what the Oxygen Advantage teaches. So I'm going to stop blabbing. It's 9:24. Appreciate all you guys being here. And if you have questions, just hit me up direct, because I'm gonna close out this meeting now. All right. See you guys.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.